companies are bleeding money. Even though they can still be profitable, they could be way more profitable with systems and processes. And then a lot of times, if you look at like small businesses, a single employee business or just a couple employee business, a lot of those businesses are just so busy just doing everything, right? Like they're the salesperson, they're the marketing person, they're the customer service person, they're everything.
As we get into this conversation with Jason, dude, I'm super excited to have you here, man. We're going to get into some really good discussion and conversation of how to scale your business, CRMs, email marketing, and kind of everything in between that. I mean, it's going to be so many different things. What's up, everybody on Instagram Live that are joining in? What's going on? Jason, first, let's start off with just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First off, I appreciate it. So I have a company, a CRM, sales marketing automation company, similar to an ActiveCampaign, HubSpot. I got into the space. I've been doing this type of work for over 15 years, kind of got into it with a previous business I built and sold, and knew the importance of leveraging a CRM software to keep your data organized, but also to leverage automation to streamline your business with sales, marketing, and also just automating routine administrative tasks. So after I sold that company, kind of get more into the space and developed our own software. And that's what I'm doing full time now.
Yeah. What is it like to build up your own company? And did you want to feel like you wanted, did you have an attachment to it? Did you what was that like as far as like selling the company?
Well, yeah, anytime you put your heart and soul into something, right, and build something, you have an extreme attachment to it. And but it's I think I involved as a person. And when I got started in the business, it was actually a printing business. Have a background in design work and stuff like that. And really, when I started that business, I had no clue about digital marketing, no clue about CRM, sales, marketing automation, anything like that. But to grow that business, I needed to learn that stuff. And once I learned that, I grew a new passion for something I knew nothing about. And that was actually just became more of my focus as building the business. That's what I really wanted to do, so I just kind of gravitated to that side of things.
Yeah, for sure. But you got a passion overall for marketing. I mean, that's what it
I love it, man. That's yeah. I mean, that's what I do now, but I never knew that when I started that business, but right. Over time, you kind of, as you do different things in life, you learn different passions that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, for sure. If you could just, I think a lot of people a lot of the listeners and people that are viewing this, either they're like in grind mode for their current business, right? And they're trying to grow and scale it. Or they may be a serial entrepreneur and they may have sold businesses in the past, or they have multiple. What can you walk us through just really quick, just and share as much as you can as far as like the process of actually selling your business? Like, how did that come to be? How did you make the transition from that printing to digital marketing? And like, what's the actual process? Did you do outreach to see who's interested? Did they find you? Like, how did that happen?
It was probably a lot easier than most people go through. To be honest, like the reason I sold it, I just kind of got tired of doing we were running like 3 different shifts. I had no focus on building this to international level. Like, it started as a local business, but then it was started in 2007, 2008 when the economy was tanking. So I had to find other strategies, and that's where I discovered businesses online were booming. So that's where I started to go online. And then we grew that to an international level, shipping orders all over the world, and
Yeah.
running 3 different print shifts. So I became like more of a full-time babysitter, I felt like. And I
That's
just
real. That's real. Yeah.
man, and I I just wanted to do what I like doing after, like digital marketing and doing the CRM and the marketing automation stuff. And I told my wife one day, I was just like, I feel like I want to sell the business and, gravitate to, that side of things. So, honestly, finding a buyer, man, wasn't that hard. I just reached out to, one of the people that we used to outsource some of the orders through. They were interested,
Oh,
and that's how we did it.
okay.
And I didn't really go through much of it. I could have probably went through a more elaborate process on that, but I was just ready to go, and the price was right, and that's how I did it.
Yeah. How did you know how to price your business
I
for?
did research on it, talked to some
Okay.
business associates I knew that's went through that before, and yeah,
Okay. So you kind of had like an advisory or kind of
hired.
like your
I had
own
an
counsel.
attorney on my side, yeah, and
Okay.
leverage our accountant on some stuff to do evaluations of their business model and things like that. So yeah.
For sure, for sure. And then the buyer kind of came from people you were already doing business with,
Yeah,
but you were like, "Hey,
they knew our volume, they knew our business model and aligned with their stuff. So yeah. Mhm.
and how quick is a deal like that? Is it a couple months? Is it a year? Like how long
It
does that process take?"
it's probably about a half a year, I think, that we took through the process of going through things. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So I think for anybody watching and listening to this, that it takes a little bit of time. You may get lucky. Look at your current suppliers. Look at your current vendors. People that you already know that you're doing business with, or that's in your circle that understands your business and what you do. At least spark up a conversation. And I guess the first part is it never hurts to ask, right? It never
yep,
hurts to
exactly.
see who's interested, because I think the selling of someone's business, it's not like, unless you got a big for sale sign on your business, it's not
Right.
like you're marketing and advertising that, hey, we're looking to sell. So it's one of those kind of sometimes like taboo things of like selling your business, because you want to be in business but not show the market that you're like, I'm trying to get out of this. So it's a very tricky time,
Yep.
depending on the industry and business you're in. Okay, cool, cool. So now fast forwarding into what you're doing today, d- let everybody know about what having a good system as far as in your business. There's so many, especially small businesses, that don't systematize what they do. I hear it all the time. I do a lot of marketing, branding plans and work where all of a sudden you start to see like they don't have their data organized and they just don't have a system to do whatever they're doing. They're kind of just winging it like the
A
whole
lot
time.
more than
So
just small businesses, man. I mean, I've worked with 250 plus employees, actually, quite a few of them, and you'd be surprised. I'm so surprised when I come into some of these, huge businesses that they don't even have the processes in place, right? Like, how did they even get to that place? But some industries, you can just naturally grow if you're in a good niche. Um, but the systems and processes are mess. So a lot of times those companies are bleeding money, even though they can still be profitable. They could be way more profitable with systems and processes. And then a lot of times, if you look at like small businesses, a single employee business or just a couple employee business, a lot of those businesses are just so busy just doing everything, right? Like they're the salesperson, they're the marketing person, they're the customer service person, they're
yes.
everything, and those businesses a lot of times just don't have the time to do a lot of that stuff. But that's where sales and marketing and automation is key, and organization is key, because if you can automate a lot of the things that you do on a routine basis, it frees up your time to do what you need to be focused, your more critical tasks that you need to be focusing your time on. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it, for some reason, it just, I think people like to just be busy. I don't know what it is, or they never stop. They're so busy being in the business, they're not working on the business, and
yeah,
it's like such a common thing.
it's a juggling act, right? I mean, we've all been there, and it's you know, you you need to get your stuff done. That's important in your business, but you also need to you know, leverage some of that time. And a lot of times getting started out, unless you have a lot of capital behind you, which most of us don't, you know, you need
Right.
to hustle and put in a ton of hours to do it. There's no
Yeah.
really, I mean, I wish there was an easy button, but a lot of these gurus, which I kind of hate, you know, they make it seem like it's so easy, and there's so much of that stuff littered over like social media and YouTube and stuff like that now, which um I can tell you there's no easy way. I mean, it takes takes time, a lot of testing and measuring, and you know, sometimes luck, right? So
Yeah. Oh, it definitely takes a little bit of luck. I got into some great conversations with some amazing people that like really built up some businesses, and what we came down to figure out is that there's usually always an event or a moment that your business lines up with timing, trends of something that happens, or an event, or kind of an anomaly that happens. Almost like the best example currently is like, 2020 with COVID. Like some
mhm.
businesses just exploded. I mean, they were growing, right? They're
Yep.
moving in the right direction, but I'm talking about in an event that just explodes or moves forward your business in a way that you could not anticipate, and it's just right timing, right moment, you have the right product, the right solution, and it just hits. And that does, it's a little bit of luck. You can try to position, you could try to anticipate or form that event to
Sometimes you got to
happen,
pivot
but
in situations like that, right? Like if you look back at the
right.
Great Depression, a lot of the big businesses that boomed during that time, they made extreme pivots, you know, and they're some of the biggest companies today because of those pivots that
Right.
they made, you know. And it's same
Yeah.
thing with COVID, you know. I saw a lot of businesses pivoting during that time too. So
Yeah. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of that, and the guru stuff, like it does just, it really gets under my skin when I see this stuff, because it also makes a lot of the younger generation, coming up, they they think that it's just that easy. And so they get into entrepreneurship,
mhm,
and they may, get knocked down a couple of times, get super discouraged, and then they just quit
mhm.
when, because they're like, oh, well, this person's just saying it's so easy. It's not. It's really not. No matter what you're doing, yes, is the access and opportunities easier than it was 20, 30 years ago? Sure. As far as like
Mhm.
the internet opportunities, the access to an audience, marketing your product, you don't have to just go on TV commercials and do these large marketing campaigns. There's
Mhm.
quicker ways to acquire, but it's
There are,
it's
but it's
not
also
easy.
much more saturated, right? So
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
you know, I mean, man, back in the when in the printing business, right? When I was growing that business, we did a lot from SEO. SEO back then was like the wild, wild west. You know, you could, and it was pretty easy and quick to, you know, adapt to, you know, and now it's just so saturated that it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's always those kind of challenges um and those things that people have to overcome. And that's just the truth in entrepreneurship. And that's one thing we would like to really tell people the truth on this
Mhm.
podcast. So speaking of the truth, out of all the companies on the digital marketing side, the companies that you've they're getting set up with their CRMs, the people that you work with, what is the most quick, like the quick win as far as that you've seen over the course of your career with like email marketing or CRM? Like, what are some of the quick wins for a business that can be implemented pretty fast to be able to get a result?
Easy one, man. So this is for companies that actually have lead gen dialed in, right? Like you're booking, you get people that are booking appointments, or you get people that are coming in through your website, inquiring about your services, and you need to schedule meetings. You're going through a sales pipeline process. I don't think I've ever came across a business that has this process like nailed down, like even a fraction way nailed down. And that's putting sales automations in place. So those are just general like lead capture automations to get them into the CRM, basic steps. Most businesses have that part, at least somewhat nailed, but that's where it drops off. So, have no follow-up automations from there, right? So if you're needing to schedule a meeting, the first step, like to get a discovery call or something like that, you should have an automation in place. Usually a course of a couple of weeks is a good thing. Put, a series of emails, maybe even a text message or two in there to get them to schedule that meeting. As soon as they schedule the meeting, stop that series, put them into a scheduled stage in your sales pipeline. If they cancel a no-show, another huge area that most businesses don't have automations in place to follow up with those people. So putting automations in place, similar thing, course of couple weeks to reschedule them, put some in automation to reschedule. As soon as it's rescheduled, stops it. And then automating some of the other processes through the sales pipeline. I put that system in place for a 250 plus employee business. They had 7 brands. We implemented it for one brand as a test. It actually came from like a 30-minute call with the COO. They're showing me like the bottlenecks in their sales processes. And again, this is a big company, and they had tons of leads coming in. Their sales team were managing their processes from Excel spreadsheets. They had a CRM system, and they were managing their stuff from an Excel sheet. But the reason they were managing from an Excel sheet is because their sales team did not have like sales processes. Like they had no processes to follow in the company. So if you don't have processes to follow in the company, then you're going to gravitate to something that you know how to use, which is most likely Excel spreadsheet or something. So I pitched what I saw the problem being. We put those systems that I just told you about in place. We increased their sales conversion rates by 750%. And they had a ton of leads coming in, right? Like a ton of leads coming in. So when you have a ton of leads coming in, you're going to see a much bigger
uptick of
conversion rates and results from it. But from then, we implemented those same processes with smaller companies and saw same results. Like it's if you have leads coming into your business, that's so important to put in place, because I don't care if you're a small business or a larger business. If you're a small business, you don't have time to follow up with those people, especially cancel and no-show. You're focusing on new leads coming in. If you're a bigger business, you have a sales team, I guarantee you that sales team is going to be focused on the new leads coming in. Those are new opportunities. They're not following up with people that are not responding. They're not following up with the cancels and no-shows. So it doesn't matter the size of business, putting those processes in place are the quick wins and can have substantial results. And not just for sales conversions, that's efficiency too, right? It's increasing efficiency, because if you are just a 1-person, 2-person business, you now have more time to focus on those qualified leads. Same thing if you're a bigger business, you have a sales team. That sales team can just focus their time on the qualified leads and close more of them. So.
Yeah, the follow-up game is like and they'd say like the real growth in a business is in the follow-up. I've done that. I have a workshop that I do with that I've done for like 7- and 8-figure businesses. And what I found is that we kind of go through the customer journey, right? So the 5 phases of customer journey, and the one that's always missed is the nurture phase. Every single time.
Like Tony, man, I've never came across a business that, and it's probably just because of the nature of the business, the people that reach out to me and the people I work with, but I've never came across a business, not once, that has that process nailed. And that's just like what I just described is like bare bones. And that, right? Like you can take that further, right? Like integrating like with Facebook custom audiences, retargeting ads at different stages in the sales pipeline, even incorporating direct mail into it, depending on your business model, and automating your direct mail pieces and stuff like that. So much stuff that you can do depending on the size of your business, but that nurture thing it's key. The
It's
back
where the
end
gold's at.
processes. Somebody told me
Yeah.
a while ago that this is um, he was had a CMO of a very large company. A lot of people know out there, but he said 80% of your time should be focused on your back end processes, right? Like
Mm.
20% on your front end, but 80% is on your back end processes, because those back end processes are what convert the people to the customers.
Yeah. And think about
Generate more,
how,
I was gonna say, and
yeah.
generate more money from your existing customers, right? So it's not, you shouldn't be stopping once you get a customer. You should be upselling, cross-selling, getting more business from those customers as they're a customer.
100%, 100%. Because it's think about how much time that it takes to even get somebody interested and become aware of your brand. And then it's when they actually become a lead, you spend so much time and effort on that process, but then you're spending, like most companies are spending, like nothing to actually get them, to
Mhm,
nurture them, to really understand, retarget, remarket out to
mhm,
them. Because there's like this graph, and we may show it up on the screen in the post of this podcast, but there's a graph that shows like where there's the people that are ready to buy, and then there's this huge chunk of people that are just like curious. They're kind of like shopping around, they're looking, but they're not quite ready yet. But there's some intention because they're not feeling enough pain yet. And
yeah,
then there's like this other part of people that don't even know the pain exists yet, but you know that they're the target market and they're the target audience that you could help, but they don't
mhm.
know it yet because they don't have enough pain. Most people spend all their time in just the people that really want it right now, and they try to convert those people. But there's a huge market for people that they know it, they don't have enough pain yet, but they're just kind of testing it. And if you could grab a little bit more of that market share every single time and really nurture those people that are a little curious, they want to learn more, they may not be quite ready, but you can give them resources, tools, and things to help them along the process. Like there's so much money in that, in just that big area of people that are not quite there yet.
It's a huge, even a small percentage makes a huge impact.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So in email marketing, what have you found to be the best lead magnet um for somebody's email marketing strategy, like to get somebody to get their email address or to get their phone number? Is there a golden rule for a lead magnet?
I mean, that's more on the lead gen side of things, to get people in your system. It just really depends. Like I've seen some things work great for certain businesses and absolutely fail on others. I don't think there's a. If I was going to tell you there's one thing, I would be BSing you, because it's not. There's not, you know what I mean? And I've worked with so many different industries, and tried to implement something that had huge success with one industry into another one, and absolutely saw zero results with that industry. So you just need to understand your audience.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, a lead magnet is not the best thing, right? Sometimes it might take just direct outreach and business development strategies to work it. So
True.
you,
True.
you really just need a test and measure. I wish I could have a better answer there, but I don't want to like.
I think it's I think it's a good answer of testing and measuring and constantly looking at, like, is it a digital product? Is it a resource? Is it, like, there's a lot of different forms of lead magnets. It just depends on the industry and
You
what's
gotta
going to work best
understand
for you.
how much competition you have in it and stuff like that too, right? Like if you're in a super
Yeah.
competitive niche or just getting started and you're going to try to run Facebook ads, it might not be the best thing, right? Because you're gonna have to spend a ton of money to capture stuff in a super competitive market. So
Yeah.
depending if you're a local business versus national business, a lot of things go into that. So
Yeah, and just so if we look past the lead magnet or that initial, like, capture, how many emails should you send to somebody as far as to nurture them, to give them more resources, value, before you go for the sale? Or like, hey, schedule a call with us, book a call, like to actually go for a sales
I
piece
mean, I
of it.
think that's the power of marketing automation because you can, leverage based on actions that they're taking, website
Oh,
activities that they're taking without like having to manually like look through it and or say, so there rule of thumb, there's not really. Yeah, I mean, you need a like base engagement activity based on that, right? So
hmm,
I want to go directly for a sales call right out of the gate for somebody that's not really requesting more information or requesting a call, right? You need to nurture and
hmm,
educate. And then based on that activity and stuff like that, then you can move them into that like more direct sales funnel to push them to book a call and stuff like that. But if they're not ready, keep them in a long-term nurture, more educational stuff, then keep on
yeah,
feeding them content based on what they're engaging with and things like that. And then now, if they come in through like a form requesting more information, you go directly to book a call, right? Like it's,
right, of
or
course,
somebody that's a Facebook ad that's requesting information, go right towards that. But if they don't like book a call, say 5 emails, then put them in that long-term nurture because they're not ready yet, right? The
right,
timing's not right. They might be ready, but the timing's not right. Like who knows what their personal circumstances are? They could have got in a car accident and then, who knows, so
right.
then you just need to stay in front of them and nurture them and then bring them back into that. So takes time and you got to understand your different segments of your business and leverage marketing automation to kind of do the work for you.
And speaking of segments, I want to talk about this really quick. The other thing that I've seen a lot, and I would love your hot take on this, the amount of people that just blast out an email to everybody and they don't segment their audiences at all. Like they're just, it's like if every message just goes out to everybody and they don't like put people in groups to understand like what is their interest, what is their needs. How often have you seen that? And like what's your hot take on that?
It's a lot more common with smaller businesses, right? Like,
Okay.
somebody that's using like a MailChimp or a constant contact. They might have some different lists in those programs, but they're not really leveraging like a CRM system with actual data, keeping historic data, and then leveraging automation to automatically update those segments based on the customer's journey and how they're, moving through the process and stuff like that. Now, with that being said, I've came across quite a few larger companies that are using CRM systems and stuff, and they tried to take like a segmentation approach, but the data is a mess, right? So you got to have good naming conventions, good structure, good strategy behind it to keep that data clean and accurate so that your segments are up to date.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
important. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a common thing that's overlooked, and a lot of businesses don't nail it because you're focusing on a lot of other stuff than those back end processes. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also just takes a little bit of time too. And I think that everybody's so busy being busy in their business. They don't, like you said, they don't take that time to really focus on the back end or carve out that stuff to say, okay, here's our audiences. Let's start to segment them. Let's start to put them in buckets and figure out, okay, what are some actual strategic ways we can market out to these people, like to these particular groups, because you're just going to get a higher conversion rate. You're going to get a higher open rate. Like all your numbers are going to go up because if you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. That's
I
that's
would
that's
say
kind of the common thing.
it's a good point that you bring up, and I would say it just made me think about this. Out of the most successful companies that I've worked with, some like $500 million companies, leveraging like outsourcing this stuff to another company to do for you is key because like your internal team just doesn't have time. And thinking about it like right now, like some of the companies that I see like having biggest bottlenecks on that are trying to do it internally, and
Mm,
their internal team doesn't have the time. So like
yeah.
bringing in like outside team that understands that stuff and can work with you to like put that stuff in place have a much better impact.
Yeah, For sure. For sure. Just leveraging the there's somebody else I was talking to as well, and they said that uh the thing that really helped scale a business is they wish that they should have hired externally out like sooner, to outsource some of these things, especially if you know, so don't blindly outsource, but if you know there's certain elements in your business where you're like, oh man, if we could just get this right, it could really help us, 5x, 10x, really grow my business to get to that next level. Then you go find that expert in that particular thing, you outsource it out, and then it could just work wonders for you. I think the problem is some people outsource blindly. They're like, I just need help with marketing. And then they, they hire out. They're like, these people come in like, well, we really know this, but you actually needed this.
Yeah, another key it's a great point. Like, don't go blindly, but even then, like, I think one of the things I learned from another company working with them is like hiring in threes, so running tests and on threes. So, for example, if you have the capital, right, like, and you're hiring a new person, hire three is test, right, and test in three, see which one works, and then get rid of the two and hire the one, and do that based on processes, right? So who can follow, because somebody might have great reviews, might have an outstanding background, but if they can't follow processes and procedures, they're not a great fit, so because that's not going to be a person that can help scale the company. So another thing is like marketing agencies, right? Like, if you're hiring a marketing agency, don't go as one, try three and run three as a trial, and then can the other two. And again, that comes down to capital and how much resources you have, but still,
of course,
I've seen that have great results for companies that do it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Great advice. So I want to talk a little bit about, so back to the systems piece of it. How important is reporting? So, as far as like
It's essential.
actually understanding your business and getting that data. How important is data for a business? And because oftentimes when you get the CRM set up, when you get these back end stuff set up, and then you could actually start to predict and kind of understand your business a little bit more. But like, for what you've seen, how important is that?
It is absolutely critical. I mean, it's essential. So it's funny you brought that up right at this time, because I was telling you about the company that, hires in threes.
Yeah.
They're using Pulse, right? And we are working with them to set up a like real-time reporting. They're using Excel spreadsheets. So we worked with the COO, took their data that they're using Excel spreadsheets, feeding it into the CRM, setting up their dashboards in Pulse. So once we got that set up, we actually presented the data to them, and the COO thought it was inaccurate, because what they had three marketing agencies that they're running, and they thought the one that was best performing by far was not even it was losing money, actually. So here's the thing: they had somebody internally on their team, lower level person, set up these Excel spreadsheets. So when they're having month or weekly review meetings, they're reviewing these numbers. Nobody actually dug through to make sure that data was set up properly in the formulas. They were missing one key element: the cost that they were paying that agency each month. The cost that they're paying that agency was $10,000 a month. You factor that in, it changed the numbers completely. So we actually went through the data, because she is like, this can't be right. And I was like, I'm 100% accurate. This is right. I checked it 3 times. And so she went through it with me. She couldn't believe it. Next day, I talked with her and I said, so what do you guys decide to do? Because she talked with the CEO. She's like, we fired that company, and now we're allocating, that budget to the best performing channels. So reporting is absolutely essential, right? And you need to have that stuff updated in real time. You need to make sure the data is accurate. But as long as the data is accurate, it's feeding in and it's updating in real time. You have a clear picture on what's going on in business. Yeah, key.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's so funny because everybody says with data is like garbage in, garbage out. Like if you're putting in data or numbers in, like you could show anything. You can show
Yeah,
anything, but also if no one's checking or cross checking or double checking that stuff, uh, yeah, it could
it
become
can be a big
an
mistake, right? Because
yeah,
you're going blindly on on something. So yeah,
yeah, for
and
sure. No,
if you're a smaller company, you would have probably identified that problem, right? But this is a larger company, they got money coming
for
through,
sure.
they got revenue coming through, and some of those things can be overlooked. And
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's very easily for it to be overlooked,
Mhm.
the bigger you grow and scale. Um, so through your career, um, obviously you're in the printing business and now in the digital marketing, really systems operation or systems and the software, of helping people grow and scale their business. What has been one of some of the like things, challenges that you've had to overcome being a business owner, um, to help somebody else out today, as far as what's actually scaling your business, some personal, um, a couple personal stories or things you can share of here's maybe some challenges or maybe some mistakes that you made to help somebody else out when it comes to growing or scaling their business.
Yeah, trust your gut. um, trust your gut. I mean, that's like one thing I wish like I would have. I mean, I think it's such basic stuff, right? And you hear people say that, but it's like so true. I mean, if I look back at the failures I've had over the years or like misdirection that I went,
Hmm.
getting like eh, involved with like business partnerships that I thought were going to be good, but my gut was telling me, I don't know, right? And I went that route. Like if I would have just trusted my gut feeling, I would have, missed that. I mean, it's super basic advice, but it's so true. And another thing is just like um, test many different things. Don't like try not to like follow all these. I mean, you got to educate yourself. You got to read books. You got to read blog posts. You got to listen to podcasts. But don't try to follow like these gurus that like are going to tell you like success overnight, right? Like when they could have had great success, I'm not doubting that. But what they don't tell you is the money and the resources it took them to get there, right? None of them
Mm,
got there overnight. None of them
right.
did. And it takes a lot of testing and measuring. So what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for you. So like I said earlier, a specific lead magnet might work great for one business, but doesn't work for another industry. So testing and measuring is super important. Running micro tests, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, and just keep going until you find something that sticks. And once you find something that sticks, triple down on that,
Yeah.
max that resource out, and keep going. And then rinse and repeat.
Yeah, for sure. Great advice. I mean, the trusting your gut thing is I know it sounds like like, hey, yeah, just trust your gut, but I hear that from a lot of business owners. Like
It's so
it's
true. It's
it's
so true. I
it's for
mean,
myself, for others, like they're like, if I just trusted, because you got something in you telling you that this is like either kind of beware of this or maybe you shouldn't do this or it doesn't feel right. Go with those. Like if something feels good, go in that direction. If it
mhm.
feels, and I understand too, because like oftentimes the problem with trusting your gut with some people is, I think to really grow and also scale your business, you need to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And to get out of that comfort zone, it means that you're not comfortable in the direction you're going. So your guts maybe, but I also think those are two different feelings. Like the gut is really in your best interest of where you're going. Then the comfort level is just like the unknown of something. And
Mhm.
so, but if your gut is telling you to go in the unknown, then it's like, okay, well then maybe I should learn this or I should go in this direction. But I think those are two different feelings. What
I'll
do you think
say
about
too,
that?
there's been times that I've trusted my gut and it didn't work out, right? But
Mm,
but it's still, if I look back today, I'm glad that I took that direction because it moved me forward, right? So sometimes failures are successes too, you know? So like I'm not saying like every time that you trust your gut, it's going to be like always a success if that's how you're measuring it. But usually, like when you trust your gut, it's the right decision. I don't know if that
yeah.
makes sense or not, but
Yeah, no, for sure, because maybe you need to go through that lesson to understand something else to
you
get you to that
don't
next level.
you you don't like you don't keep moving forward and without failures. You know, failures are
Right.
huge lessons learned, and usually once you fail once at doing something, you're not going to fail again doing the exact same thing. So
Exactly. It's a success is an up and down thing. Just as long as you're up and down, at least move continues to move upward.
right.
That's the goal.
Yeah, not
It's
down below
never,
the baseline, right? Like,
yeah, it's never this though. It's never
yeah,
like
exactly.
I never fail. Um, no, this is great, Jason. I think this is really really good advice. And so what's next for you, man? So you're building Pulse. Um, what is next for you? What are you looking to go into?
The goal is to build and sell this business as well. So that's my previous business. That wasn't really my goal. Like, but this is definitely my goal. Like my goal for this business, build it up, sell it. Goal was by age 50. So
Yeah.
like 4 more years. I don't know if we'll be at that point. Like I get approached, every month by a few different people. I just, tell them not right now, but put it in the poll like of people that I can reach out to when the time comes. After that, like I have like long-term goals of like, so that's like still a long-term goal. But then even after that, like if I reach that goal, like what my next goals are, and it would just be to like help other businesses, kind of do the same thing that I've learned
Mm-hmm.
over the years, invest in other businesses and, you know, uh, live life, travel more, enjoy time with
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Traveling this
100%.
next winter, like for a few months, going down out to Colorado for like a month to snowboard for a month,
Oh,
and then
nice.
yeah, then I can't do
Nice.
that without going down to the beach. So we're going down to Florida for like a month and enjoying some time down on the beach. After that, my wife is not a cold weather person, so yeah, just trying to travel more and enjoy life, and yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. What is your what's your hot take on because you went from the printing business to a software business. So what's the difference between those two industries? Like more of a service based business to now I mean you're still service based, but you're a software to help people scale. Like what was the reason for that? And like what's the real difference between those two industries?
It's a lot of difference, I personally think, and it might have just been the timing, but I've actually helped other B2C businesses, and the lead gen aspect of those service-based businesses is much easier, right? Like going into a competitive like B2B business space is much harder. I completely
Mm,
underestimated um, how challenging it would be going up against billion-dollar companies and a super competitive niche. But yeah, it's challenging. But we got customers all over the world, and we're continuing to grow month over month. So it just I would I'd say there's a lot of difference there. Definitely differences, but processes similar.
mm.
When you look at the process and you break the processes down, the back end processes are similar. It's just different approach based on your customer segments.
Yeah, for sure. And the obvious one is that the software can help many. I mean, yes, you can grow customer base on a service base, but it's very one. Where a software you could have, you could wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, 20 new people registered or signed up, and it's
It doesn't matter if you're in B2C or B2B, you need to have back end processes in place to nurture those people,
yeah,
streamline. I mean, we talked more about sales and marketing and automation today, but I mean, there's so many processes that you can just automate from an administrative side of things too. Like one landscaping company we just recently working with, they automated their Google Drive folder structure. They're creating like 54 folders for each new client, and they're doing that manually. So now, like, as soon as they get to one stage in the sales pipeline, boom, that's automatically creates it,
just creates
done
it.
in like a minute, automatically, no manual process behind it. So think about the time that saves, like the office manager or whoever was in charge of doing stuff like that. So, I mean, I think it doesn't really matter really what industry that you're in. There can be huge differences between that, but the back end processes, you got to leverage automation.
Got to. What? And I'll give you a couple minutes to answer this really quickly as we close out. But what's the biggest difference with Pulse versus the other CRMs that are out there?
Yeah, so two different things that we focus on. One is we'll never charge based on module features. So if you get started in like a HubSpot, you can get started for free. As soon as you start to like grow your business, that
Oh
price
yeah.
is gonna skyrocket, right? Like we recently brought a company over from Australia as a business consulting company that was using HubSpot. They're paying, I think, close to $2,000 a month, and now they're paying uh, around $200 a month with Pulse, and still leveraging the same features that they were doing in HubSpot. So, yes, HubSpot's got tons of features, right? But the majority of businesses don't use all those, and you need a salesperson to talk to a salesperson every time you need access to this specific section of HubSpot, but HubSpot's not it, Salesforce, like we got a Fortune 5,000 company that's coming over that's paying like $800 a month per enterprise user license, right? And then they're also paying for Active Campaign for their email marketing and another software for their text message marketing. They're able to migrate to Pulse, consolidate all those tools and save a substantial amount of money. So we charge based on users and contacts, meaning as you grow as a company, then we can kind of grow with you, but still keeping the price affordable. I feel like that's super important. And when you look at that from like a small business perspective, don't feel like you're being nickel and dime by feature, right? Like you can get all the same features being a one-person business and get started as low as $49 a month and have access to sales pipelines, email marketing, text message marketing, CRM system, all the resources that you need to help you grow and scale the company, real-time reporting, right? Lay that foundation in place. And then as you grow as a company, you got that foundation in place to help you grow. So that's probably one of the key differences in our business model. But then also taking like a handheld like approach to help them get started, where HubSpot, you might have to pay like a $2,500 like onboarding fee
Fee. Yep.
per module that you get, right? Like per module that you get. And that's any of these companies do the same thing. And it's a templated approach, it's a templated approach. It's never really customized to your business processes. So what we do is we like to work with a company to understand your business processes, how you're currently running your business, offer suggestions where we see the gaps being, what we see probably the most important milestones getting set it up to set your foundation up right, and then working with them to help them get that foundation set up right. That's like one of the key differences. I don't care what CRM system you use, HubSpot, Active Campaign, Salesforce, Keep, doesn't matter. Like if you try to take that approach and set up yourself and never really done that process before, that's the key reason why people churn and go from CRM software to CRM software. It's not
Yeah,
the software, it's because all of these, right, can work to do your business. This like all of them will work. It's the
for
process you
sure.
put in place to make it work. And if you have
Yeah,
that properly set up, then it'll work for you.
and I was gonna ask you too, because I think if people were listening and saying like, okay, I'm getting kind of sold on being on switching to Pulse. The most common probably objection, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is like, okay, what does that transition look like though? Maybe because sometimes it's painful to switch systems. It's
It
so
depends on how
painful.
many. It depends on the size of your company, right? Like
For sure.
small
Yeah.
company that doesn't really have many automations and systems in place, it's pretty simple, right? Export your CSV file, always clean the data before bringing it into the new system to make sure that you're starting with clean data and stuff like that. And but bigger businesses like the Fortune 5000 company I was telling about,
Yeah.
very complex, right? That's like a year-long transition, right? You're talking about tons of automations, tons of processes moving over, lots of different audits that you need to do, and different, because a lot of the things that you're currently doing might not be the right processes, right? So
Right.
like redoing, re-engineering different things and stuff like that. So just different depending on business model. A lot of migrations for like smaller mid-sized businesses, no more than two weeks to a month to just at least get the first foundation set up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, that's good. That's good. No, I wanted to take a moment because we were talking a lot about systems and processes and also some of the marketing strategies that companies can use, but definitely wanted them to hear about Pulse and definitely guys check out Pulse technology and it like take a look at it. I mean, as you can see what Jason's talking about. It could be a really good resource and tool for you to use for your business, but you should definitely first look at what are you doing currently in your business. Do you even have a back end? Do you have a system set in place, not just for the sales and marketing, but also for your general admin tasks that you're using. Take a
I
look
just
into that and see what ways can you improve that, and Pulse could definitely be a resource for you.
I'll just throw this out here too. Do a quick Google search of Paul CRM. We usually show up number one in the results, but reach out if you just want to even have like a free consultation. Reach out, and I'm happy to like take a review of your current processes, systems, offer suggestions on ways you can improve efficiency or possibly improve sales conversions, revenue, and stuff like that by leveraging automation. So.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the Foureva Podcast. This is a lot of fun. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, man. It's always great to
Okay.
have conversations like this. I wish I could do this all the time and get paid for it, but I can't.
Yeah, man. It's always great to talk about this stuff. And we focused a lot on the sales and marketing side, like you said, but there's so many other ways that we could have took this conversation and dived into your story. And but it was really great to learn about this. And if you're listening, watching, for everybody that's on the live, please like, comment, share this podcast, especially when it drops. And this is a reminder to everybody, look at your business. I always tell people, you're always working in your business. When are you going to work on your business? Especially for the smaller companies, even the medium-sized companies, look at your business and start to work on your business and say, hey, what things can I improve? What automations can I set in place? And can I really systematize a lot of what we do? So thank you so much. And reach out to Jason too. You guys know this podcast. I always say these people are reachable. Depending on who they are and their schedules and stuff, that it may take a second, but they're reachable. They're
I'm a real person. Hit me up.
Yeah, you're a real person. You're a real person.
I'm not AI. I promise. I'm not an AI bot here.
Hit them up. Get connected. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Yeah, we didn't even talk about, like, you have a pretty good following on LinkedIn. Did you do a lot of content to
I
build
used
up
to
that
do a lot of
following?
content creation back in the day, and I'm on there now, but more my team manages my account and stuff. But,
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, connect with Jason on LinkedIn, and don't forget, guys, you can change your circle to change your life, and we'll catch you on the next episode. All right, peace.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for more amazing content that we're going to be putting out. And don't forget, you can change your circle to change your life.